lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. He missed the complete. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard.
From a quick lap around a relatively recent roval, the drivers of the VSRA now find themselves facing the long lap times of historic Sebring International. It was a Brazilian invasion on the podium last week, but drivers are quickly becoming acclimated to these tricky cars, and the myriad of mistakes seen at Homestead are likely to be more severely punished around this bumpy track. In the end, someone will be able to say they've won at Sebring, and we'll find out who as we get ready to watch round 2 of the DIYSim.com American Road Tour live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak. With me in the booth tonight are Bill Zahn and Ayrton Ellis. Our cameras have been provided by Dougie Beard and are directed by Giancarlo Lenzi. Ayrton, there's a lot of places where it can go wrong around here. Tell us what the drivers are up against today.
Thanks, Joe. Well, as opposed to the roval of Homestead, this is a complete independent international circuit, 3.7 miles, also known as 6 kilometers, and about 17 corners, quite a lot for a road course. And we're going to be running 45 minutes here in the Riley DP, so a pretty short stint for these guys.
Meanwhile, we also can't forget about the championship, Bill. With one round under our belts, what's it looking like?
Well, last season it was the same song with Wyatt Gooden dominating the charts. This season looks like it might be kind of a Sergio Mendes Brazil 66 one-note samba with Brazilians dominating the tops of the charts here. Anderson Moda leads the way with Ricardo Ignacio 4 points back, and Wendell Parra 7 points back. Now Matthew the Thrill Phil is the first non-South American in the top 5. He's 9 points back in 4th place, and then we go back to the Brazil again with Daniel Santos running out the top 5, just 11 points back. So the series is young yet, but unless we can see a shakeup, this road course may make things a little bit different than the roval. So it'll be exciting to see. But it looks like it beat the Brazilians is going to be the theme. Back to you, Joe.
Well, judging by the lap times we were seeing in practice, it's looking like no change as far as nationality dominating. But before we get to what lap times are looking like, let's take a look on board and see what it's like during the day in our lap guide. All right, Kevin Brown is behind the wheel of the GSRC DP, so let's do a lap around Sebring. Turn 1 is going to be an illustration of what you can expect for the rest of the lap. Bumps, bumps, and more bumps. Top it off with the fact that it's a high commitment blind corner with pretty much no runoff, and you can see why it's feared and respected. As you exit, you want to stay to the right and set up for turn 3. This is a potential passing zone if you're sneaky. Late apex here, but the curb is very tall, so show it some respect. Then you weave through 4 and try to get the best exit possible out of 5. If you fail to do that, you're going to be extremely vulnerable to any chasing cars because it's flat out all the way through Big Bend down to turn 7, the hairpin. It's the slowest corner on the whole track, coming from one of the fastest, and it's a straight line in the braking zone, so it's about as ideal as it gets for passing opportunities. From there, you want to straighten out this little squiggle as well as 8 and 9. Once again, it's power down for quite a while since these are pretty gentle corners. This leads us up to Cunningham, another good place to try to get by your competitor. Just like before, the curbs on the inside are pretty harsh, so be careful about banging off of them too hard. This is going to dump you right into Collier, which is a fast, multi-apexing sweeper with very little runoff. Get it wrong here, and you're probably not coming away without damage. After that, you're immediately into the braking zone of Tower. Clip the inside curb and you can pretty much expect to spin the car. Drift too far outside into the dirt, and you're going to have to lift and lose speed all the way down the backstretch. From here, Bishop is going to be flat out. It's got a double apex, but really hug the left at the second one because right away, you're braking for 15. These medium speed S's are very easy to get wrong, and once you're offline, say goodnight to a good lap time, because it leads right into Le Mans. And if you have the wrong line into there, it means you're losing precious tenths down the length of the entire Ullman Straight. Now, drafting here will be possible, but I wouldn't recommend being too daring on a late braking pass. You see, this leads us into Sunset Bend, which starts off with this frighteningly fast kink. Then you'll find yourself bouncing around off the horrible bumps once again as we try to navigate the last part of this 180-degree right-hander. Get the car settled so that you can get on the gas pedal as soon as possible, because this brings us back to the front stretch, and now you've finished a lap around Sebring. As you can see, there's a lot of places where it can potentially go wrong around here. Even during the day, the bumps and numerous tricky corners around this circuit are going to challenge these drivers. So don't forget, before we get into some of the stories to worry about as we continue to watch qualifying, you can contact us on social media during the race and even ask us questions. You can get a hold of us at GSR channel. You can see it there on the screen. And even if you're watching this post-race, feel free to send us your thoughts. We love interacting with our fans as well as with the drivers. I know a number of you guys go back and watch this to see what all went on. So please give us a shout and let us know your thoughts. So, we keep mentioning the darkness around here, Bill, and we've seen some big inconsistency with some of the driver times. I wonder if that's contributing to it.
I've never driven the Riley at night, so I'm not sure how great the headlights are. From the chopper cam, they seem really nice. But, yeah, this track is incredibly dark, and it's going to be hard to get in that consistent lap. I think this layout probably isn't as bad as some of the other configurations as far as darkness. The Grand Prix layout's okay, the large one. But, man, it's going to be interesting, and I think it's going to put on a really interesting, exciting race for us.
Yeah, they certainly put on an interesting, exciting race last week, and I think a number of the drivers, Ayrton, learned their lesson as far as strategy, especially in pit stops and tires.
Yeah, and the one that keeps in my mind is Daniel Santos. Him and a number of other drivers in their pit stop tried to take just front tires only in order to get quick stop but also get fresher tires, and that turned out to be maybe a poor decision because he spun out, I think, 3 or 4 times in just the few laps after his pit stop, and that cost him from first place all the way down to, I think he dropped down to about 5th by the end of the race. So these guys really have to be careful about that.
So as drivers continue on throughout the season, I have to imagine it'll become more and more obvious what the best way to go about both the pit stops and what to do with the tires are. We've seen those change with more less durability, I should say, more degradation, that they'll start to go away in a stint. So it's a question of, should I get new tires if it's going to cost me time and have those fresh tires getting me good laps out there? Another thing to watch out for around here, Bill, are some of these curbs are very tall and could actually potentially damage the car, from what I understand.
Yeah, the Riley's kind of fragile. You don't want to be jarring it around too much. And I don't think you want to be getting this thing close to the grass either. So I would look for, and then always keep in mind, as I keep giving more ideas to myself, is that incident count as well. So I think these guys are going to do a pretty good job of keeping it on the gray, keeping the car level. When we were talking about pit stops and tires, certainly taking 2 on the front was not the answer. So I wonder if the solution's going to be no tires or all 4.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of an all or nothing thing. You can't really, except for maybe extreme cases on some circuits where maybe the rights or the lefts are more significantly eroded, that you kind of just have to get them all or get nothing. But speaking of the tires and that contact patch and whatnot, there's going to be some times when they don't have that contact patch, Ayrton. The bumps around this place are absolutely incredible. I remember hearing Audi say that 12 hours around this track is harder on the car than 24 at Le Mans. It just tells you how rough the circuit is.
Yeah, and it's even a bigger problem with how low to the ground this car is, and just the slightest little bump, like especially the inside curves, some of them are very high, and running over them can cause damage to the car and possibly affect the car's speed as well on the long run as well. So these guys have to be careful about that.
Particularly, I would think in Sunset Bend, as we watch one driver come out of that, continuing his qualifying, that's going to be a danger zone. You saw it on the lap guide, and you'll continue to see it out during the race whenever we hop on board, just how the car is absolutely jostling around everywhere in that corner. just because the bumps and the speed of the car around that long bend is going to make it very tricky. So it looks like most drivers have got their laps in. I'm just checking through to see who is completing theirs. We have about 4 minutes left on the clock in qualifying. These guys are out there solo, so everybody has essentially their own track to themselves, even though they're out there on the same time. With this being virtual racing, they are able to do that in this world. But most guys seem to be finishing up lap 4, so we'll let them finish that up, and then we'll read through the qualifying times. I'll tell you what, though, looking at some of the faces that we saw up at front last week, some of them aren't there, and some of them are doing a lot better than we saw before. Alex Bilal comes to mind. He was dominant last season, Bill, but wasn't doing quite as good at Homestead, and now he's finally kind of back up to form. Maybe he's gotten used to the car by now.
Yeah, and the other name to look at is Leandro Schmidt that I've been keeping an eye on. He's down there in 9th right now in qualifying. He was 2nd last year in the championship standings. With this not being a roval, I think we're going to be susceptible to maybe more of a wire-to-wire type thing where without the draft playing such a big part, these guys are going to spread out a little bit, and I think the pit stops are going to be really important if they can't get around them on the track as easily with the draft on a roval. Doing it in the pits might give you the pass for the win.
And not only that, but we were just a bit ago talking about some of the names. Ruben Velasco is here. He is a previous season champion, not last season, obviously, with Wyatt Gooden, but he has been a dominant force in this series and currently sitting in 7th on the timing. There's big expectations for what he can bring to the table again this season and see what he can do. And he certainly has a lot of fast guys out there to compete against, Ayrton.
Yeah, and he wasn't here last race, so we couldn't see what he was like up against a lot of these guys in the previous race. But, I mean, he's 7th right now, so I think he has some pretty good pace compared to a lot of these Brazilians.
Yeah, it certainly seems like maybe he was swapping a few notes out there and making sure he's keeping up with the Joneses. So I think most drivers have their laps in. We got about 2 minutes left to go. And let's read through the qualifying since I think everything should be as it is. This is provisional since there is still time left and some people could be putting laps in. Alex Bilal is sitting on the pole. Daniel Santos is in 2nd. Then starting the second row is Ricardo Inacio in 3rd. 4th is Guilherme Leite. 5th is Wendell Pera. Then Anderson Mota in 6th. Ruben Velasco in 7th. Frank Phillips in 8th. Jose Vegada in 9th, and Leandro Schmidt in 10th, Ayrton.
Then in 11th, it's Kyle Potts, Bruno Rossetto in 12th, Eduardo Tomedi in 13th, Matt Malone in 14th, Derek Waller in 15th, Matthew Thill in 16th, Marcio Arizon in 17th, Donnie Leonard in 18th, Mark Robertson in 19th, and João Oliveira in 20th. Bill?
21st, I get all the American names down here. Joseph Anderson is 21st. Outside of him is Lee McGovern. Justin Allen follows him. John Kelly is in 24th. Bruce Poole in 25th. Patrick Dewen outside of him in 26th spot. 27th is George Fike. 28th is Michael Gorlowski. 29th is Lance Snyder. And then Brian Shanahan in 30th with John LaBeouf rounding out the field in 31 drivers here tonight. Back to you, Joe.
And I see Bruno Rossetto is still out there putting his qualifying lap in. So is Logan Knapp, who has no laps on checked off yet, which is interesting. He's probably going to be starting from the back of the pack since he has no qualifying time at this point. And we've got all of 15 seconds left on the clock for qualifying. So this is definitely going to be intriguing to see, as you said, with a very different style of racing around here and also very dark style of racing, who is going to be able to adapt to very drastically changing conditions compared to the previous week. Qualifying is now up, so guys should be coming to the grid very soon here. And as I said, Logan Knapp did not get his qualifying time in. Neither did Hiro Kanaya. However, I'm not sure if Hiro is going to be taking the grid or not. Yes, it looks like he will be taking the grid. So we have a total of 33 drivers out there today. going to be a full field. Thankfully, they have a long course to be able to not have to trip over each other quite as much as last week, Ayrton.
Yeah, and just mentioned here in Kanaya, he didn't qualify last race either, so maybe he prefers to start from the back and see how far he can get through the field. Maybe just a different style of racing for him.
Bill, I know you're a bit of a Kanaya fan. What's the prediction this week?
Okay, I thought top 20 last time. I think that's a little much for him. Let's give him up to 22nd this week. Pick up 10 positions from his 32nd position. And if you guys out there are watching this, you drivers on a replay and you're all of drinking age, here's a fun drinking game for you. Every time I misidentify a driver, go ahead and take a sip because it's dark. I don't know what I'm doing here, so I'm going to do that a lot tonight, I think.
And of course, at VSRC, we encourage you to drink responsibly, so don't get too drunk on account of Bill.
We can do it with lemonade. That's okay. But man,
there we go.
It is. I'm struggling here, guys. Oh, they look so nice though on the front straight under those lights.
Absolutely. You can see as we hop on board the blimp, all the cars gritting up behind the pace car. This is, of course, a rolling start series, and guys will have to take advantage of that, which will be all the more tricky coming out of Sunset Bend. One other thing, Ayrton, it sounds like they have a drop week this season, which I'm sure a lot of guys will feel relieved about.
Yeah, especially Ruben Velasco after missing the first race, but quite a few of these other guys had a few problems last race. One of those guys, Jose Bagheera, he was in the top 5 at the start of last race, and I think he got involved in a crash that made him not able to finish the race. So especially drivers like him and other guys that might get involved in crashes later on this season will be using those drop weeks, and hopefully not more than because there's only one drop week, so hopefully they won't have DNFs for any more than one race.
It certainly puts you behind the 8 ball as soon as you miss a race. You can't
we have a crash right on the pace lap.
And we could see that on screen. I'm going to check to see what
Oh,
car
my
that
goodness.
was.
It looks like Wendell Para.
Oh, wow. That was bizarre. I'm not sure if we actually saw it unfold on screen. I know I looked over and I saw that it was actually there. And it looks like, from what I'm seeing, is he was weaving to try and warm the tires. I'm not sure as we get a replay if that's going to be an issue with cool temperatures. I didn't see what the weather is out there today, and just suddenly lost it. That is bizarre. He did get run into by at least one car and almost got run into by another car from what we can see on the replay as he tries to back up and get himself turned around. In fact, I think they had a bit of a Keystone Cops moment of cars just piling into one another behind him as they didn't expect to have to stop on the pace lap.
Yeah, I think it was Bruno Rossetto also turned it around sideways, and they're both teammates. You know, nobody's old enough to remember this at the Indy 500, but that happened to Kevin Kogan. I'm going to guess like 1981, where he warmed up his tires and lost it right off the early pace lap. So it can happen to professional drivers as well.
You know, I don't remember Kogan, but I also remember it happened, I want to say, in 92. Another driver was warming his tires and screwed up on the pace lap. But, yeah, embarrassing moment definitely for Wendell Para as we watch the replay once again of him warming his tires and unfortunately running afoul of the cold tires, I suppose. And one of the interesting things as we watch this replay again, there has been mentions of drivers experiencing weird things happening on cold tires with the new tire model. So that could have been a bug. That could have been not his fault on that one.
Boy, it didn't even look like he was really weaving it. I mean, it looked like it just bit right.
Yeah, so it makes me suspect that could have been an iRacing bug. So we're getting some confirmation, some information that was most likely what happened, since it has been confirmed that the DP does experience that bug. But the good news about that is, guys, with this long pace lap, this has killed a little bit of time for us.
Yeah,
that was exciting.
Yeah, some of those guys did have a little bit of damage from that. I think Wendell Para, he hit that wall pretty hard. That probably caused some front-end damage, so that might hurt him in the race.
Donnie Leonard also got quite a bit of damage, having 2 contacts in that, so he is starting a little bit on the wrong foot there, I'm sure, even though it wasn't really his fault at all, I think. So, pace car continues on. Alex Bilal leads the field as drivers each warm their tires, trying to get things heated up, because there is more grip now with these tires, trying to get that heat cycled into them. So as Alex Bilbao takes them around that final corner, pace car should peel off into the pits. Let's see who can get a good getaway and who can maneuver that very fast left-hander of turn 1. Already takes off, gets a good jump. His teammate just behind him does not get nearly as good a jump. They've got a whole trail of cars, including Wendell Pera, Guillermo Leite, and a number of cars stacking up just behind them. Now they come through that first corner side by side. It looks like no dramas so far as everybody takes their time. And Bill, it looks like everything is copacetic, although I see Patrick Nguyen went way wide.
Yeah, it was pretty good through the back. I'm hearing some little banging going on, so I'm going to check it out for you.
And a few cars are in the pits. Logan Knapp, John LeBaff, Lance Snyder, and John Kelly are in the pits. I'm not sure what's going on with that one. Meanwhile, up at the front, Alex Bilbao is already under attack as, whoa, and Alex Bilbao overshoots the hairpin. Actually goes off, and Daniel Santos is going to inherit the lead, followed closely by Ricardo Ignacio. Wendell Pera already up into third, looking to challenge, trying to get up beside him, but has to give up.
Very bizarre from Alex Bilbao. Looks like he totally missed his braking marker, didn't want to have a chance of running into the grass, and he's dropping very far back.
Oh, and we've got a car off into the grass. I'm sorry to interrupt. Jose Vergara went off into the grass, and now he's been touched coming through Collier. Tries to save it, and losing many, many positions as he manages to keep it going, but guys already struggling in this darkness.
And those 4 drivers you mentioned, Kelly, who we had, Knapp, and LeBaff, all came out of the pits. They're all running nose to tail, but they're way back.
Eduardo Tomedi also had a spin coming through Tower Corner, and he is back on with no incident, no contact. Meanwhile, at the front, or not at the front actually, I was looking at Alex Bilbao is weaving his way through the field already as he tries to charge through. But it's Daniel Santos in the lead who's going to look like he is going to lead the lap, followed very closely by Ignacio. So already drama is happening on lap 1 in this 45-minute race, Ayrton.
Yeah, it's becoming already a little bit of a repeat of the beginning of the last race, not the crash-wise, but the running order. Daniel Santos already into the lead race, and he led, I think, the most laps in the previous race at Homestead.
Yeah, he was up front as we see a car kick up just a little bit of dirt coming out of turn 1. Very easy to go wide through there. Now the field weaves their way through turn 3, 4, and 5 as they try and work their way through. Big pass from Matt Malone on Donnie Leonard coming through turn 3. Absolutely outbraking him through there.
And I was watching Matthew Thale. He's off the pace. I'm not sure what happened. He went wide on one corner. He's dropping. Wow, he's off the pace.
We're understanding that he has damage on the rear of the car, which you can kind of see on the screen. He got run into at some point. Not sure when that happened. But as they come through the hairpin, we have a spinner. That is Malone. Commentators curse. And I'm not sure what caused that. I just caught it off the side of the screen.
Derek Waller just gave him a sorry, Matt, so I imagine Derek Waller had something to do with it. Now, Malone had front-end damage from that pace lap incident as well.
And we're watching the replay of that. He actually got tipped. I went back and watched myself. You'll see it here. That was Waller, I believe, that got into him as he goes just a little bit wide. Waller comes to the side. That's a really tricky part, Ayrton. It's very easy to get crowded in that hairpin and just tip somebody.
Yeah, some of those guys got to be careful with that. But I'm also looking at Guillermo Leite. He just made a mistake in one of the hairpins as well. He's dropped down to, I believe, 7th place, and there's quite a lot of action around there as well.
Just behind him is Kyle Potts, who is looking to make a pass coming up to the sunset. It's very tricky to try and come through that fast right-hander and get by somebody, but he backs out of it and looks to try and get himself a good exit. Just behind him, Leandro Schmidt has worked his way up into 9th so far from what I'm seeing and is holding position there. Let's see if he can make any inroads. He's dropped off from the back of Potty, who is working his way on trying to get past Leite.
So already we've seen quite a few mistakes from mid-pack drivers and front drivers as well. That's kind of cost them to really rot back in this big pack.
I have a feeling it's going to be a lot like last week where we see mistakes come in and really cause position changes all over the place. Ruben Velasco, former champion, is being hunted down by last week's winner, Anderson Moda, as they stack up at the hairpin. And big bobble from Lete as he tries to hold on to those two and loses ground. Meanwhile, Moda is all over the back of Velasco. He's starting to pull him in with the draft, but I don't think he's close enough as they come up to Cunningham.
Lee McGovern has come into the pits. I don't believe, well, it could be a scheduled pit stop. He was well at the back, so it's really nothing we need to keep an eye on.
Yes, and they will have one pit stop as they are limited on fuel in these cars. So they are going to have at least one stop. I believe they can get to about a half an hour as we ride on Anderson Moda trying to hunt down Velasco.
Joe and Ayrton want to ask a question. If you start from the pit, do you think you could negotiate it where you could get a full tank of gas right there?
I believe you can. I remember you mentioning that's a potential strategy at last season. So I think they are able to, even though it's a fixed... I'm sorry, Ruben Velasco is making a move on Wendell Para right now, actually, as we're watching on screen. And through that kink, goes side by side and comes out ahead. Nice move.
Well, I'm wondering if those four cars, maybe Ayrton can elaborate on it, if those four cars who started from pit lane, maybe they took their pit stop.
Yeah, that could be a possibility. But just taking a note on Wendell Para, that contact from the, not even beginning of the race, but from the start of the pace lap, I think that's really hurting him because he's running about a second slower than everyone else around him, and he got easily passed by Ruben Velasco in the straight.
And now he's stacking up more cars with Moda behind him, as well as Frank Phillips and Lete, all trying to work their way past, not wanting to lose time, especially behind Velasco, who is now onto the podium already at only the fourth lap, Bill.
Yeah, here he goes. And you know, Daniel Santos was our leader right now. He was with us for
contact. There's contact between Moda and Para trying to come through the hairpin, and Moda actually pushes Frank Phillips completely off the course. There is some apologies there. I'm sorry to interrupt there, Bill.
No,
as we go to the replay.
To go back and elaborate, Moda and Para, those were the two guys am I correct, were battling for the lead last race where Moda collected the back marker in front of him.
You're correct. No, it was Para that collected the
back
Para
marker. Did, right. But it was those same two drivers who were battling at it, and they're at it again today.
And it's still going on, I believe. Yeah, although Moda has dropped back just slightly, and now he's got Lete right behind him, but he's going to try and close up. And Ayrton, I think you're right. The damage in these cars can hurt the aero, and they're very aero dependent to try and cling to the course through some of these faster corners.
Yeah, and not just the corners, but this very long backstretch that they're on right now. Para with that front damage, it really costs him, as you'll actually see. And Anderson Moda, he's really going to close up, and that's also a combination with the draft.
Side by side through there, and he actually pushes Moda off to the side, muscles his way through, and he loses 2 positions. Now Lete is right behind him as he was able to just sneak inside of there during that little fracas, and now he's going side by side up into turn 1, outbrakes him, he gets tipped off into the side with cars coming at him, and now lets his car drift off to the outside, thankfully letting a number of cars through. Frank Phillips taking advantage of things, though, up onto the side of Wendell Para and absolutely pushes him aside. A lot of argy-bargy here.
This is such a contradiction, such a dichotomy to what we saw last season where the racing was so clean. Man, it's hard to keep track of these guys. I don't know if it's just aggressive attitude or if these cars are just harder to handle.
I wonder if it just lends these cars... Whoa, and a spin from Para, and he gets tipped by Leandro Schmidt, actually, into the hairpin. A number of guys are going to fall afoul of the incident limit at this rate.
And Letty just made a move past Para.
As well as Schmidt moving down. We're watching the replay of what went down there. Para, from what I understand, I think we're going to see it, just closed up on the car in front of him, got caught out by how quickly he caught up in the braking zone and spun it, trying to keep out of that car.
I got Schmidt just... I'm sorry, there's so much action.
Whoa,
Schmidt just got into somebody.
A ton of cars, yeah. Donnie Leonard, Matthew Thill, João Oliveira, and Mark Robertson all in an absolute dog pile in the middle of Collier. We're gonna see that in a bit, actually, I believe, as we're still watching that replay. They're gonna come up to it in a second. That was absolutely bizarre.
I'm wondering if.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I'm wondering if a lot of these crashes have to do with like just the darkness of the track, and if that affects some of these guys' visibility.
Yeah, the Schmidt and Leonard thing was just, I mean, they just got together. It's Mazda Cup type stuff.
Yeah, this is not the professionalness that we saw last season. I think guys are really having to adjust to this car. It's very tricky. I don't know if it's the darkness around here just so much as the combination of the bumps and a very high-powered car.
Oh, that was just bad racecraft there.
A number of guys. Well, that to be fair, Collier is very thin through there. There's nowhere to go. There's no runoff. So if a car gets tipped in front of you and you're in the middle of a pack, there's nothing you can do. You just get collected. So as we watch Frank Phillips try to chase down Potty as he works through the back section of the course, it's been a high attrition race at this point. At only 10 minutes into the race, actually. We're not even a third of the way through.
It's looking good for Hiro Kanea. This is what he needs.
He's up to 26 already.
There you go.
So, just a quick rundown of those top 5, since we haven't even touched on them in quite a while. Daniel Santos still leads. Ricardo Inacio is keeping him honest, not too far back, just a little over a second. Ruben Velasco, a little ways back. Can't touch them right now after he had to work his way through a number of cars. Then Anderson Moda, not as high as he was last week, but still in 4th place. And Potty, have to give him credit. We were watching him for a little bit ago, is in the top 5, followed by Frank Phillips.
So it's only top 4 Brazilians this time rather than top 6.
Exactly. Although he's got a challenge coming from Phillips around the outside, coming through the kink of sunset, and he has to back out of it, but he's trying for the over-under, getting himself a good launch. He's got an excellent launch. Is Potty going to stay to the inside? Yes, he does. He goes defensive. That forces Phillips to try the outside through one. Is he going to be able to outbrake him? He doesn't even have the car alongside. I think this is a done deal. Well done to Potts for defending, but it's not done, actually. He gets a bad run coming out of that corner. Now he's at the outside, coming up the 3. Phillips has the inside, the desired line, outbreaks him, and cleanly moves up into 5th position, excuse me.
Really good over-under move from him. Very clean. So good job getting into 5th place, Frank Phillips. And I don't think we saw much of him last race if he was even there.
Phillips actually started in 8th, so he's up a few positions, taken about 2, so he's got the pace here from what his qualifying says. A car that we didn't see a whole lot of in qualifying, that we mentioned briefly, Bruno Rossetto, he is in 7th. He started 12th. That guy has just been picking up position after position, so credit to Bruno for working his way up, even if it's by attrition.
Now Malone is coming in, but he was well down the running order, so I don't think we need to keep too close an eye on him. But we'll have to watch for those top guys if anyone's going to come in early.
Now, one thing we haven't talked about that we usually enjoy is our charger of the race that wasn't supposed to be a charger, and that would be Alex Bilbao. He is currently sitting in 26, so he hasn't made up a whole lot of positions compared to how many he lost in that early moment. I wonder if he ran into a bit of a tangle somewhere along the line. I would expect him to have made up more spots by now.
I wonder if he...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I think Bilbao might have been out. Double check. He might have been one of those guys that started from the pits.
No, remember Bilbao outbraked himself into the hairpin.
Oh, that's right. It was LeBaf. Sorry. Too many LeBaos and LeBafs.
I'm wondering if Bilbao might be able to compete with Kyle Potts' comeback from last race, because remember Kyle Potts had that mistake on the first lap. Last race, he managed to get all the way back up to 8th. But so Alex Bilbao has quite a lot of work to do to match up to that.
Well, I'd be amazed if he managed to do what Potts did, because Potts finished, I want to say, where he started. And Alex Palau, that'd be very impressive if he managed to get back into first position. It is still looking good, however, for the guy that is in first position right now, Daniel Santos. He's got about a second gap over Ricardo Ignacio, so he's not making any inroads at this point, Ayrton. But, I mean, we saw last week, little mistakes are what makes the difference, and Santos made those after his pit stop. I wonder if he's going to be able to deal with those cold tires a little bit better.
Yeah, and these guys have quite a gap to Ruben Velasco as well. I mean, we did mention that Velasco had to get through, had to pass quite a few people, and that's why he was set so far back from these guys. But I'm wondering if he has the pace. He seems to be running similar lap times, but he's pretty far back. He needs to probably catch back up through pit strategy.
Now, here's really our first top name that's in. It's Leandro Schmidt has come in, but, he had that trouble with that spin, so he's not really a front runner either right now.
Yeah, and he had a few tangles with other cars, so he might have damage to repair if he wants to try and be competitive for his second stint. So I don't know if we're going to really see a whole lot of him up towards the front after pit stops cycle through.
And Joseph Anderson just coming out after completing his pit stop as well.
In fact, we see a number of cars exiting the pits, it looks like. So a few guys deciding early on, which is really opposite of what we saw last season, Bill, of guys deciding to try and get it out of the way. I'm wondering if that's more due to the damage that a number of cars have incurred, or if that's really strategy.
Yeah, I wish I could tell the viewers who's coming in for a routine pit stop and who's coming in to fix damage, but, I mean, things were so hectic. Honestly, my notes look like a chicken stole my pen and went crazy, so we'll just have to play it by ear.
It's a very literate chicken, but right now we are watching Matthew Thill, who is behind João Oliveira, I believe, and this is currently for 18th and 19th position, I believe. Oh, and side by side, this is 15th, 16th, and 17th, actually, as João Oliveira makes a move past Bruce Poole, coming onto the backstretch. In fact, Bruce had an awful exit out of that corner, out of Le Mans. Matthew Thill boxed in on the inside, almost taps into the rear, almost, actually, I think he does make contact with Bruce Poole, but both of them managed to come out of it okay, as now they are single file with João Oliveira coming out on top in that group.
Yeah, Matthew Thill, he finished in 4th place last race, but I mean he started in all the way down in 16th for this race, so maybe this isn't his track.
Well, we're hearing some radio chatter where Matthew Thill was apologizing a bit to Bruce Poole, and everything seems hunky-dory between those guys. But Bruce Poole under attack from Marcio Arizon, and unable to make it happen coming through Turn 3, now heading through Turn 5 around Big Bend. He's going to get another chance, hopefully into the hairpin, but he is way far back, so I think that is a lost cause for now. So as those guys spread out...
Joseph Anderson put it in the grass, looped it around, but he didn't get anybody.
And where was he sitting, actually?
Well, he just come out of the pits, so the only reason I mentioned that is here we are again with the guy coming out of the pits and having trouble keeping it on the track.
And he's sitting in 29th from what I'm seeing, so that's after, as you mentioned, a pit stop. So he's been worked his way down. He is just behind Patrick Nguyen, and that is for position, actually, as he comes up on him, and he's looking for a pass. Very late braking. That was a bit of a dive bomb, to be honest, Ayrton.
Yeah, a little bit. These guys, I'm kind of...
I was going to say, Nguyen actually just went off track into the tires. He's not having a good race right now. I'm sorry, go ahead, Ayrton.
Yeah, it's going to cause a lot of damage. But yeah, a lot of these guys are being pretty aggressive, and I don't even know if it's just aggression, but a lot of these guys just making a lot of mistakes as well. Even more than Homestead. I felt like Homestead was a lot more... a lot of them were just independent errors where they just spun a little bit and it was no harm done, but these are a lot of multi-car accidents.
Yeah, I think you're right that many of these moves feel very aggressive, and I wonder if that's because a number of guys were put out of position early on, and it's almost been like a chain reaction, sort of like a mousetrap chain reaction. You set off one, and then it trickles down, and everybody is trying to work their way back up because they got caught out by something ahead of them. We're hearing word that Bruno Rossetto and Pera have been in and are coming out.
And we have a close battle for the lead. Let's go up to the front as Ignacio is making a move on Santos right now.
as we watched Wendell Pero spin, but let's hop back up to the front there. He wasn't successful. Santos held off Ignacio. Was there a mistake, Bill, that caused him to be able to close?
No, Ignacio's been wheeling him in little by little each lap, and I think he has the pace. It's going to be interesting to see. I know we talk pit stops. I keep hammering this point, but it's really not going to be who's the fastest at pit stop. It's who's going to be able to handle the cold tires. Here he goes.
Down to the inside, coming up to the hairpin, and he backs out of it. Probably a smart move. He's got a bit of a race to do it, and we've seen that one lead to contact along the way. Now, remember, we have seen guys in the past incur penalties post-race for bad driving, so I wonder if we're going to see a bit of stewards stepping into things, especially with some of the argy-bargy moves.
Yeah, Ignacio. I'm just saying Ignacio looks pretty anxious to get by. He was poking his nose out on the front stretch when he was clearly not even in distance of making a pass. So he's looking for ways to get by Santos at the moment.
We are currently on board with Ricardo as they come through turn 5, now coming up to Big Bend, and he got a very good exit. Look how close he is on the back bumper of that car. Coming up to the spoiler, looking around to the outside as Santos goes defensive up to the hairpin. Who is going to be able to come away with this one? This is another danger zone where a number of cars have got into each other. Santos goes just a little bit wide, but with the weave of the track, Ignacio has nowhere to go and has to slot in behind once again. He's got the draft coming through this left or right-left series of corners. Now coming up to Cunningham, possible passing zone. He looks, but he's not close enough as he brakes a little too early, Aaron.
Yeah, he's really eager to get by, just can't get the right run. Well, he got a run, but just the S section of the track after the hairpin makes it difficult to actually get a pass in that section of the track. A lot of these straights are actually quite curved, like it's full throttle, but they have curved sections, so it's difficult to actually get a run and get alongside someone before the corners.
Yeah, it certainly makes that over-under a tricky maneuver at this track, but there are places it can be done, particularly coming up around here or at the end of this long stretch here coming up to Sunset Bend. We've seen guys pull it before earlier in this race and in other series all the time. If he just gets himself a very good exit, he could get the over-under. He's closing in with the draft. Braking, there was no chance for him to try anything, but look at him go wide, trying to square off the corner. He is absolutely trying exactly what I was just saying, but no, I'm completely proven wrong, and that in fact they're going into the pits, both of them.
Now here we go. Let's keep an eye on them. We'll see how they come out, and then we're going to see how they come out on their tires.
Just behind them, also, Anderson Moda is coming into the pits. Go ahead, Ayrton.
Oh, I was just going to mention that.
So is Kyle Potts. Ruben Velasco is a long way back. Has he taken his stop recently, actually?
Velasco has taken his stop already. Now I'm watching Santos, and I don't see the rear end going up on the car. Oh, yes, I think maybe it did. I think maybe it took at least rear tires.
Well, he is a long ways ahead of his competitor, though. Ignacio is still in the pits, and now he's just exiting. And just behind them, Moda comes out about where he started, what it looks like, but Santos got quite a jump. Did you see, you said you're sure he took tires?
Well, you know, it's so hard to tell with the reflection from the lights. I think I saw the back end go up and come down.
And
so this was
Moda,
interesting.
Moda actually managed to get out of the pits right in front of Velasco, so he managed to jump a position.
So
Ignacio's in the wall.
Oh,
Ignacio he just lost grip and turned right and hit the wall, and he's exited his car.
We talked about it earlier on as we watched the replay. Drivers who can handle those cold tires, and even coming out of the pits, you can see him sliding. And this happened in turn 4. We'll see it go down as he comes to 3 here. Little tricky technical part of the circuit, trying to stay off of those curves. Got on the power too much, and it just squirmed its way into the tires. And he has exited out. I don't think he's continuing. Daniel Santos is, however, and Anderson Moda, boy, I thought that he was going to struggle a little bit, but he is proving that it's not about his qualifying pace, it's about how you perform over the course of the race, Bill.
Well, Joe, do me a favor. I'm having trouble locating these guys. Where is Santos in relationship to Moda right now?
Well, right now, Santos is coming down the backstretch. He is almost there, or he's midway down the backstretch, I believe. And Moda is coming through Le Mans. There's about 10 seconds between them. Oh, and Moda spins! Moda is into the barriers. Just a slight tap coming out of Le Mans. and he gets it looped around and is going to be able to continue. Who was that went by him, though, that was just behind him? That was Ruben Velasco, who was 6th last time by. But although that was, he had already taken his pit stop, so that was not fully accurate, but he is still going to gain positions. This is going to move Velasco up into 2nd, I believe.
Yeah, Velasco's already headed to his pits. Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying, I think that was probably Moda's first mistake in both races so far. The first race, he had 0 instants. I think that was the first time that he fully lost control of his car, so he can't be completely perfect.
Yeah, that'll count towards his incident points. Velasco, though, was he in 4th place before the pit stops?
Yeah.
So from 4th to 2nd, he is showing why he is a champion right now. Absolutely keeping it pointed forward and going as we watch Moda struggle there. And that was live, actually. That was coming through turn 5. I'm not sure what exactly happened there, but we saw him. He was getting. We're getting word that he was actually he actually had a bit of a power slide coming through turn 5. Impressive stuff. I went back and watched that.
But
right now, yeah, I was just about to say, Potts has weaved his way by, which is going to move Potts into a podium position.
And right behind
Alex Blau is right behind them as well.
Yeah, Blau is running down Potts. I've been watching them for the last half lap. It's very interesting. Potts is really clean. He really does a good job of keeping it right in the middle of the track.
Absolutely, and I was going to say, with Blau that far up, I wonder if he took his stop early on, and that's why he was down in 26 before. That would explain the strange positioning. We're currently on board with Blau as he sits behind Potts, and it's looking like nothing doing right now. Behind Moda, who is trying to chase down Potts. All 3 of these guys are all very close together, now coming onto the backstretch, so the draft is going to come into play, and Moda is quite close to Potts. Is going to be close enough to get side by side by the kink, closing in, reeling him in as we still sit on board with Bilal, but he goes defensive as Potty tries to hold the inside coming through the kink. This time they handle it much better, giving each other space, but trying for the over-under. Moda squares off the corner, does a little bit of a bobble on the exit and doesn't quite get a good enough run. So he is still going to be behind Potts, who is in that final podium spot, but now he's got the draft. He looks to the inside coming into that first corner, but brakes a little bit too hard, doesn't carry the momentum as Potts does, but no! He comes back at him again, coming up to turn 3, still has the inside. Now the momentum is on Potts' side, loses just a little bit of it. They're still side by side, not giving up, coming through turn 5. And still behind them is Bilal, waiting to see how this is going to play out. Nobody is giving up. They're still side by side, coming through Big Bend. Potts with a little bit of an advantage, coming up the inside, now towards the hairpin. Are they still going to hold on to it? No. Finally, Potts is able to slot ahead of him. Impressive stuff for at least 7 corners. These guys went side by side, nobody giving way.
That was excellent driving for both those guys. They didn't touch once, and they were side by side for very long. Anderson Motor's going to try again on the inside. There, doesn't manage to get the exit.
That was into Cunningham, now coming through Collier. He's got to run once again. Is Potty going to stay defensive? No, he goes to the racing line. I think he had just a little bit of a tip in the braking zone, but both of them hold it together as they come out of tower. Now this time it's Potty who has the better exit, coming up to Bishop. It's not really much of a passing zone here into this next corner, and he's not close enough, so there's nothing trying there. Bilal almost has an off coming through those S's there, and that means he loses track of both of them. Meanwhile, Moda is going to have the draft, but Potts is going to have the lap car of Michael Goralski just ahead of them to reel him in, so it's going to nullify the effect as they head down the backstretch.
You can only juggle in a china shop so long before someone's got to pay for some broken crystal, and these guys are really pushing their luck.
And I think he just paid as he made contact with Michael Goralski. And boy, was that close, as Kyle Potts gives a bit of a whew over the radio. That corner is really tripping a number of guys up coming up through that kink in Sunset Bend. Even though it's not uncommon for guys to be close, I'm amazed at how many people are being so gutsy into there.
Yeah, and I mean, it is the perfect passing opportunity, but also really tricky corner to pull off, and I'm not surprised that some of these guys have been having instants there, especially the difference.
And I'm sorry, on screen we're seeing Eduardo Tomede spun sideways in Sunset Corner. He gets it going once again. However, he is sitting down in 14th. Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Well, I was actually mentioning the lap traffic. You wouldn't think that would come into play that much, but some of these guys have actually had contact, as we just saw with Kyle Potts having contact with the lap traffic.
15 minutes left on the clock as Moda is still behind, takes a little bit of a peek into Cunningham, not close enough. He gets really up on the rear spoiler, and Potts has a moment and holds it together, which causes Moda to have to check up, barely holds onto it. And now with all of this going on, Alex Blau has closed back up on them after his earlier mistake, and he is up in this thing. But woof, these guys are really on a knife edge in these cars, Bill.
This is the best racing we've seen so far this season, I think, or these three guys are putting on a really good show.
Fantastic driving by everybody, and I need to find some wood, though, because I'm afraid of cursing this with everybody giving way when they need to. But Moda, who has proven he is a race winner, at least in this series, is trying hard to get himself back on the podium right now. He's got Alex Blau, fellow Brazilian, coming up behind him up towards Sunset. He looks to the inside. Is he going to try it into the kink? He only has just a nose in, but he backs out of it.
Well, that's what Potts wants to see back there.
Yeah, Blau and Moda are actually teammates, so I would imagine that they'll be trying to work together a little bit to get ahead of Potts.
And now the draft is on the side of Moda as he closes in on the back of Potts. He takes a look on the inside coming into turn one. This time he is far inside, but does he have the momentum? He does not. Potts screams by him on the outside and is clear past as they head up towards turn three.
Look at Moda hold it on the inside, though. That's some nice driving.
And that's a very bumpy corner, too. These guys are very brave because the closer you get, the faster you are, the more those bumps are going to unsettle you, and it can go wrong in a hurry. So as they weave their way around, we hop on board the chopper cam, and coming up to the hairpin, another potential passing zone, but nobody's close enough. Just behind them, Frank Phillips, after his earlier problems, has now caught up. He is back into sixth and is looking to try and capitalize on this. And Potts has made a mistake somewhere along the line as Anderson Moda is up on the inside coming up to Cunningham. He looks to outbreak him. This time he is fully by. Has he got it done? He gets a good exit. This time he's got it. It was a pass many laps in the making, but Anderson Moda finally is back on the podium. Potts now has other cars all over him with Alex Blau and Frank Phillips right behind him.
Yeah, Blau's going to be a lot less patient now that Moda's got around Potts.
Yeah, now it's not his teammate ahead of him. Now he's going to want to try and see what he can get out of the American, see if he can squeeze a mistake out of him as they come to the backstretch through Le Mans. Fast right-hander. Potts takes all of the track up, but it's not going to help him as Blau runs clean past him well before they get to Sunset Bend.
And I think Phillips is going to try to make it two for the taking.
But this time, Potts goes defensive. He's going to have the inside coming up through the kink and very wide, just absolutely plowing through the cones for Frank Phillips. He's going to try the over-under, but has he got it? Blau had a bit of a bobble, though, so he is under threat as Potts now has the draft, pulling him in down the front stretch coming up to turn one. Frank Phillips is taking a look as well. Potts weaves to the inside. He's going to try and outbreak him into turn one. He's got just a nose, and he is all the way up to the wall. He's still on the inside as Blau goes off the course, carries too much momentum. Potts is well past. Now they are side by side as Phillips tries to stick his nose in. Blau has no answer, and Phillips trying to go through turn four. You never see a pass through there, but he can't get it done. Now they're heading through Big Bend, and it's going to be a draft on the side of Blau as he reels him in down to the hairpin.
With all this, they're letting Anderson Moda get away a little bit from these guys. They have to be careful not to lose the draft.
This is exactly what Anderson Moda is wanting to see in his mirrors with these guys battling it out, although he is not running away as quickly as you would think with these guys battling so hard. Alex Blau and Frank Phillips, you got to give those guys credit for holding it side by side with all three cars in close quarters through turn three, and nobody lost it. Now as they head through Collier, Blau is closed up on the back of Podium, looking at Tower, but nothing doing there. Let's see if he can get a good enough exit on Tower, Bill.
I think Phillips gave a little love tap there. Said, hello, a couple laps back there. I think he made contact.
Yeah, he is really trying to get up in this. He's looking to see if he can make something out of these guys battling it out, thinking maybe he can get two positions in one. but nothing doing right now as they head onto the backstretch. However, Bilal has a very bad exit, and Phillips gets a much better one. He looks to the inside. I think this is going to be a slam dunk up into Sunset Bend. Maybe not, as he's still side by side up through the kink. Bilal gives way. He knows better on that one, and he tries the over-under, gets up inside him, and absolutely slams him aside. Almost takes Kyle Potts in the same move. And wow, these guys, I mean, these cars are known for being very burly, but wow, these guys are absolutely taking no prisoners out there. So the order right now in the top 5, as we've watched the last 3 of these top 5 swap positions lap after lap. Daniel Santos in the lead. Ruben Velasco 12 seconds back with no answer in second. Anderson Moda just ahead of these guys in third. Kyle Potts in fourth, with Alex Bilal rounding out the top 5, and just outside of it is Frank Phillips in 6th, waiting to see what's going to go down between these guys.
I feel like my mom saying, "You guys are having fun, but somebody's going to end up crying." This. I think somebody's going to come away from this heartbroken. I think.
The question is, how many monkeys are going to be left jumping on the bed when all is said and done? Right now, Anderson Moda is the one monkey is scampering away with this thing, with these 3 behind him, trying to battle it out. Alex Bilal still on screen behind Kyle Potts, trying to find his way past. They've cooled out just a little bit, but maybe once we get back to that draft zone of the final corner of the backstretch, it'll come back again. However, he's got a good run coming up to Bishop. I don't know if I would try into the next corner. That's very risky. Just a quick update on the drivers who were having problems earlier on. Oliveira, Ignacio, Schmidt, McGovern are all out of this race. I would think we'd have more with how much contact and off courses we've had. As Bilal might have had a cut course there. He is off to the side, slowing down. That is definitely a sign of a cut course, as Frank Phillips screams on by, moves himself easily into 5th position.
I'm watching on replay. I didn't see. Oh, I do see it. Yeah, he did cut the course.
Ayrton, we haven't heard a whole lot from you. This is intense stuff out here.
Oh yeah, I don't really know what to say. It's really exciting, to be honest. And yeah, you don't actually see that often this much side-by-side action, especially in the middle of the race. But it's been going by so fast that there's only about 10 minutes left.
Apparently, a little bit earlier, we could see a cone caught on Phillips' car. I'm not sure if it's still on there. We hop on board with Bilal, and even despite his cut course penalty, he's still on the back of these guys. So I don't think this is over yet. I know you said that the draft wasn't playing it as much as Homestead, but it seems like it has here, Bill.
Yeah, and Bilal's got to be frustrated because I think he had the pace to. Whoop! Yeah,
Potts almost off there. Big mistake. This has allowed Phillips back up. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, Bilal had the pace to stay with Moda, but Moda is long gone because Potts is doing a great job of fighting these guys off.
Phillips takes a little bit of a peek coming up to Cunningham. Potts gives him plenty of room, but there's nothing doing there. Now they weave through Collier, and despite Phillips losing some ground, Bilal cannot do anything through that fast left-hander. Now they come through Tower, and Potts goes very wide once again. Phillips up alongside him. Are they going to go side by side through the fast left-hander of Bishop? They are indeed, and whoa, very wide from Phillips, off into the grass, and that loses the position to Bilal as Phillips somehow holds it together, absolutely weaving through the grass. Bilal is not stopping there. He's looking at getting another position as he closes in on Potts, but he takes a very wide, completely misses the apex in Le Mans, and now Phillips is back up alongside him, says, I want that position back. Almost side by side, heading up to Sunset Bend, but he backs out of it. He's probably had enough troubles through there, says, I'm going to focus on the exit of this corner, and he doesn't quite have an answer as they stretch out, coming on to finish lap 19.
And just
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, during this battle, I mean, Kyle Potts, he started in 11th place, and last race he finished in 8th and said that he was pretty happy with that result. So being able to fight for a podium, I mean, Moda's run away a little bit, but being able to fight in the top 5 is a pretty good result for him.
It's clearly no mean feat with how fast many of the Brazilians are. We're still looking at an all-Brazilian podium once again with 6 minutes left on the clock. Right now, as you said, Anderson Moda's got about 3 seconds on Potts, so he has been checking out with how much these guys have been battling. Once again, Potts trying to steer into that corner, into that hairpin just a little too soon, I think, Ayrton. I wonder if that's been giving him some bad exits, that he's trying to apex too early.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I mean, with all the contact these guys have been having with each other, if some of their cars might be a little bit damaged as well.
Yeah, and that maybe has changed his racing line. Maybe that's why he's trying to steer in so early. Still, we've got the 4th, 5th, and 6th car all together. Potts, Bilal, and Phillips have been fighting for many, many laps now towards the end of this race during this second stint, and they've got lap traffic just ahead of them. That can come into play, and it's Hiro Kanaya currently sitting in 27th.
Hero knows how to get out of the way. Watch this, guys. This is how your champion backmarker gets out of the way.
Completely off the track and lets them by. Very polite driving from Hiro Kanaya.
Do a little lawn mowing.
So, meanwhile, up ahead of them, Bilal reels in Potts down the backstretch. Not close enough to try and get him. Is he going to try for the over-under? And he takes a wide entry coming up to Sunset. I think that's exactly what he's doing as Potts gets very close to that inside corner. Bilal going all the way up to the grass, and behind him Phillips is doing the same thing. Gets a very good exit. Bilal reels him in down the front stretch. Coming up to turn 1, he's already inside of him, but no, it looks like he's chopped off at the nose as Kyle Potts holds on to that 4th position. It's not over yet though, as they almost go 3 wide, both of them looking for the inside. Phillips up on the inside, outbreaks Bilal and takes 5th position.
Oh, that was a tricky scenario for Bilal. He had a run on Potts, but Phillips had a much bigger run on the both of them, so he managed to just get in there.
That was incredibly brave from Phillips, and he is not done yet as Potts goes defensive, coming up to the hairpin. On the outside goes Phillips, but he has no answer, and he tries for the over-under as way off course and spinning. Same thing with Bilal. Both Potts and Bilal go sideways, and Phillips is the one that comes away with that 4th position after all that racing.
I told you kids were going to end up crying.
And it was Potts and Bilal who finally broke, but you have to give them credit because, I mean, in all of that hard racing, they managed to keep out of each other for a long time. That is great, great stuff. I take my hat off to all 3 of those drivers. Great job.
Absolutely.
Well, with 3.5 minutes left to go, our top 3 are still Daniel Santos with a 13-second lead as he ticks off another lap. Ruben Velasco in 2nd, and Anderson Moda sitting in 3rd, 27 seconds behind the leader.
So, Joe, who came out ahead? Potts and Bilal. I can't figure them out on my... Or who's leading who there between those two?
Bilal came out ahead. Potts completely looped it around, whereas Bilal just got himself sideways. And actually, I want to say that they got passed by a couple people. Did Guilherme Leite get by, or was that just lapped cars? Leite and Rossetto did get by, so those guys moved up to 5th and 6th position, I believe. We'll see that things update now. 6th and 7th, I'm hearing, is the information now they're updating on our screen. So let's go through the order, since that was a lot of chaos there in that lap. Daniel Santos is in the lead, Ruben Velasco in 2nd, Anderson Moda in 3rd, Frank Phillips is in 4th, Alex Bilal is in 5th, Guilherme Leite managed to get by and into 6th, Bruno Rosetta as well into 7th, and Kyle Potts has slotted down from 4th to 8th position. I don't think he'll be as proud of that 8th position this week.
Yeah, and Leite and Rossetto, they're only about 2 seconds off of Alex Bilal. So if Alex Bilal, if he has a little damage, or maybe, I mean, he did have that early pit stop, so his tires might be a lot more worn out than the other guys. So they have a chance of catching up to him, and either of those two might be able to get into the top 5.
You know, the driver that I am most impressed by in that trio has to be Frank Phillips, because he was in the back for most of it, but he wasn't just, you know, pussyfooting it and staying behind them waiting for them to run into each other. He was sticking his nose in there, and yet he still came out ahead out of the 3. So that is impressive stuff from Frank Phillips.
Yeah, well, Phillips actually ran down when it was Moda, Bilal, and Potts. He ran them down from a couple seconds back. So, yeah, he's having a real good race.
And he started in 8th position, so he went from 8th to 4th. So Frank Phillips, I almost want to say, if he comes home in this position, you can even see he's got damage on his car. He's racing that hard. He's almost my driver of the race if he can hold on to this.
I don't know. Hiro Konan is up 6 spots, so that's only 4. So,
well,
Kanea running in 27th right now for those fans.
And Daniel Santos is running in the lead still with now a 16-second lead. So Velasco must have ran into traffic or something along the line there, as Santos has about a minute left on the clock. So actually, I wonder if this is going to be, this should be the white flag, actually. So with 1 lap to go, let's look at how some of the stories of the race have turned out with some of these drivers. Wendell Para has tried to recover. He is down in 11th at the moment. Who is some of our other guys who, Matt Malone was very far up. He is a lap down. He is sitting in 23rd. So he was not able to make up for his early mistakes. Eduardo Tomede, also a driver who had some problems, sitting down in 14th at the moment. So we've seen a number of these fast drivers really not be able to make up for their problems. However, Daniel Santos coming through Bishop, he's got less than a lap to go.
Well, remember, we interviewed Santos last week, and he talked about the mistakes he made with the tires. Clearly, he's got that figured out because he was smooth all the way through today.
Yeah, I wonder if we are seeing a driver who is on the form of Wyatt Gooden this season, because he has been absolutely dominating. He started in 2nd, and after Alex Bilau's mistake, he did not look back as he comes through Sunset, had no challenge throughout the race besides a moment or two, and I believe that was, I can't remember which driver that was, but regardless, as he weaves back and forth and comes across the line, Daniel Santos makes up for last week's mistakes and wins round 2 at Sebring. And just to show you the gap, Ruben Velasco is still coming around that final corner, hasn't even come to the line yet, and he's going to take 2nd on the podium. Ruben Velasco, well done. Anderson Moda, a long ways back, still coming through Sunset Bend himself as well. And not as good as last week, wasn't mistake-free, but Anderson Moda comes home on the podium, maybe trying to get himself a championship run. Frank Phillips just behind him, well done, does in fact take home that 4th place position. Alex Bilau, after on pole, does get 5th. Guillermo Leite, good job to him. However, he started in 4th. He is actually down in 7th, though. So he lost a position somewhere along the line, as Bruno Rossetto has passed him, actually, for 6th place. When did that happen?
Yeah, I'm looking back to see. I don't see what happened there.
Unusual stuff. Well, just behind them, Kyle Potts comes home in 8th, Derek Waller 9th, and Jose Vergara in 10th.
Yep, Ayrton found it. Late A spin, didn't he, Ayrton?
Yeah, he spun out with 2 corners to go right before the backstretch.
We've got a few more cars finishing up. Matthew Thill actually has Donnie Leonard all over the back of him at the moment. That's a battle for 17th and 18th there. Some of our last cars on the lead lap. Leonard goes very wide, almost off into the grass. He's not going to have this one. Finishes in 17th behind Thill in 16th. Lance Snyder behind them comes home 18th in a very close race himself with Joseph Anderson and Marcio Arizona. Our last car on the lead lap is going to round out the field here and finish things up. He is going to come home in 20th as he finishes this race. So round 2 is complete. It's in the bag. So let's go to break real quick. We'll come back with the unofficial results, and we'll also have some interviews after incredible racing here at historic Sebring. Don't go away. Welcome back to Sebring International after round 2 in the DIYsim.com VSRA American Road Tour. We had an incredible race here at this track at night, but Daniel Santos made up for round 1 and finally came home with a win. However, we have to apologize. We said it was an all-Brazilian podium before. It is in fact not. Ruben Velasco, I don't believe, is from Brazil from what we can tell. But Anderson Moda follows him in third, completes the podium, and does make it a 1-3 for Brazil. Frank Phillips comes home in fourth, followed by Alex Palau, who did not capitalize on his pole, unfortunately, finishing fifth. Bruno Rossetto, great race from him, coming home in sixth. Guilherme Leite in seventh. Kyle Potts ruining his mistake in turn 7, finishes eighth. Derek Waller in ninth, and Jose Vergara rounds out the top 10, Ayrton.
Then in 11th is Wendell Para, Logan Knapp in 12th, John Kelly in 13th, John LaBaff in 14th, Eduardo Tomedi in 15th, Matthew Thill in 16th, Donnie Leonard in 17th, Lance Slatter in 18th, in 19th is Joseph Anderson, and in 20th is Marcio Arizon.
Our old friend George Fike finishes 21st. Quiet race from him. We didn't see much of him. Mark Robinson, 22nd. 23rd, Matt Malone. Patrick DeWin follows behind him. Justin Allen in 25th. Hiro Kanea, 26th. I predicted 24th. We'll get it next time, Hiro. Brian Shanahan in 27th. Bruce Poole in 28th. Michael Goralski in 29th. The top 30th is Jose Oliveira. Ricardo Inacio in 31st. Leandro Schmidt in 32nd. Oh, that's not good from him. He's going to do better next race. He's already used up his one drop, though. Ooh, Leandro, not so good. And 33rd, bringing up the end of the field, Lee McGovern, 18 laps back. Back to you, Joe.
I might have to pull up the replay. Ayrton, did he say 23rd or 24th? I can't remember what the prediction was.
24th.
I think it was 22nd.
We're getting some discrepancy here. But anyways, we have some interviews to go through. First up, we're going to have Daniel Santos, and he is actually going to have some help because we have Anderson Moda interpreting for us. And Daniel, it's a win for you. Does this make up for the mistake in round 1?
Ele perguntou, Daniel, se essa vitória apaga o que tu fez lá na primeira etapa, o que aconteceu de ruim.
Bom, primeiramente, boa noite aí a todos. Parabenizar ao Anderson Mota e o Rubem Velasco. E, bom, pedir desculpas pela primeira volta aí, porque eu toquei no belão. Não consegui evitar a parada, os pneus muito frios. Mas, bom, enfim, tive que continuar a corrida. E realmente a estratégia na primeira corrida foi equivocada na troca dos pneus. E nessa, graças a Deus, deu tudo certo. E no início ali uma briga forte com o Ricardo Inácio, e depois só foi, eu acho que ele errou, eu não tenho certeza, mas depois só foi trazer para casa e garantir a vitória. Só finalizando, agradecer aos patrocinadores e parabenizar a todos aí pelo campeonato, a liga aí pelo campeonato, pela qualidade dos pilotos que correm aqui. Valeu, vamos bora para a próxima.
Well, Daniel congratulates Ruben and me for the race, and he said he made a mistake in the beginning of the race and hit Belão for the back, for the rear, and that's why Belão missed that turn. And he had a very hard fight in the beginning with Ricardo Inácio, and this race obviously were better than Homestead because he made a huge mistake in the strategy. We all of the same team, me and Daniel, we made a big mistake in that race, and this one, after Ricardo made a mistake, I don't know, he gave up of the race. We're only to finish it, but very better, or a better race than Homestead. And he asked me to thank our sponsors, the Mecânica Belão, it's Nassertec, PicPay, Power Sites, Coletiva UD, and Prática Home.
And Anderson, thanks for translating. You know, it's important because there's so many Brazilians here. It's nice to get you guys on the interview. Let me ask you a question. You took a pit stop and then you had trouble after the pit stop again where you lost it. Were the tires a problem like they were in the first race?
No, my mistake was because of me, my driving, like say my mistake. It's a driver because I tried to exit very fast in that turn. And I lost the rear of the car, and for luck, I didn't destroy my car. But it was a mistake, not because of the time.
Ah, well, it's going to be very close in the points now because you are ahead, and now Daniel's going to close up a bit with this win. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out for next week.
But yes, we are all of the same team. Me, Daniel, Alex Belão, Eduardo Tomed, and Marcel Zon. We are all of the same team, and we'll be very respectful between us. Will be a very interesting fight. I hope to be in the first place until the end. And another thing that I forgot to say, Daniel also said what a very, very good podcast as you do, guys. A very good event you are promoting. So congratulations. We all are congratulating you because of that. It's a really good broadcast, a really good championship.
One more question for Daniel. Do you think that Alex Belão would have been able to challenge you if he hadn't made his lap 1 mistake?
Perguntou se o Belão ia conseguir competir contigo se não tivesse feito aquele erro, na verdade, com a batida no começo da prova.
Eu com toda certeza. O Belão estava, na minha opinião, acho que tinha o melhor pace aqui de todos os pilotos e a vitória era, eu acho que era bem certa para ele. E, bom, fiquei muito chateado pelo pequeno erro ali e já pedi desculpas a ele e bora para a próxima. Mas com certeza.
Yeah, so definitely, Daniel says, definitely Belão probably would win the race, but Belão didn't miss the turn. Daniel hit Belão in the rear of the car, that's why Belão missed the turn. Daniel is a lot upset because of that, but he would be definitely sure the Belão would win this race.
Well, that's something we definitely missed. We thought it was outbreaking. Thank you for talking to us, guys, and congratulations to both of you on a first and a third.
Thanks, Joe, and hope to see you next Sunday.
Absolutely. Next up, we have Kyle Potts, and I believe Ayrton is going to talk to him.
Thanks, Joe. Kyle, do you have me?
Yeah.
Well, you're probably the story of the race. The battle between you, Frank Phillips, and Alex Belão was extremely exciting to watch. What was your impression on the race?
That was fantastic. One of the best races I've ever been a part of, for sure. I don't really like playing defensive. I'm not really used to it, but worked out pretty good. Oh man, I'm hurting though, man. I really wanted at least third, but I was gonna deal with fourth. I knew I could hold him off. I was blocking in all the right places. I was fast out of the right corners. But then I didn't take tires, and I think that killed me, man. I must have roasted off the front ones a couple good times, and I could not stop the second half of that race. It was tough.
Yeah, it looked pretty tough, and it was quite a different story from the previous race at Homestead, where at Homestead you made a mistake on the first lap, and you had to come back and fight through the pack, whereas here you managed to get up near the front of the pack, and you had to do a lot of defending. Which do you prefer? Which do you think was a little bit more difficult to handle?
Well, nobody wants to spin at the start of a race. That's definitely not the way to go, but it kind of plays into my advantages. I like to follow. I like to, check out other people's weaknesses and try and get them in certain corners and whatnot. But I like this race because it showed my potential. I knew I could do good. Homestead, I was hoping to do just what I did here. Avoid the accidents, just kind of hang out for the first few laps, let everybody feel each other out, and then go for it. But yeah, it worked out exactly the same either way. So I guess it doesn't really matter for me, huh?
Yeah, 8th place in both races, so, you're definitely a name that we need to keep watch on, and I'm sure you're probably going to be able to get that podium in the upcoming races, so I would say congrats on a good race, but you finished 8th, a little lower than you probably would have expected, but it was definitely a fun race to watch.
Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot.
Okay, back to you, Joe.
Last up, we have a driver we didn't see a whole lot of, but I think he deserves a mention, especially for coming to the booth to talk to us, and I'm glad he did because we didn't notice until we looked to see where he finished. That is Logan Knapp. He started and from the pit lane in dead last and finished in 12th. Logan, impressive feat. You caught us off guard with that one.
Apologize if you guys hear any background noise here. It was just kind of a last-minute strategy idea that I had with my teammate John LaBaff, where we were looking at the fuel numbers and knowing how this car reacts on cold tires. We thought we might be able to get around having to deal with that on once coming out of the pits again, and then possibly avoiding any carnage in turn 1 first lap. But yeah, I wish it could have gone a little better. It was just hard to find a rhythm, and I don't know if Kyle said anything about it. We were talking about it a little earlier. Once later in the session, brakes just get so hard with this thing.
I'm curious, since you started from pit lane, and we saw on the sheets that you pitted on lap 1, if I'm understanding correctly, did you actually take your fuel from your start, or did you come back around and get fuel after the first lap?
Yeah, actually, I pulled in as soon as we got the green flag. We pulled into pit lane, took the fuel, didn't change tires to try and have some sort of pace lap, and continued on from there.
Well, very clever of you, and I'd say it worked a treat. I wonder if we're going to see more guys from the back try and attempt this, but excellent race, and hopefully we'll put our cameras on you a bit next time if you pull this maneuver again.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. It really depends on the track. So, thank you, guys.
Thanks for talking to us. Well, before we go, we want to thank a few people. Obviously, we want to thank DIYSim.com, the official sponsor of this series. Definitely go check them out. They make racing rigs for all kinds of sim racing and other simulations. Also, thanks to VSRA, the organizers of this league. And thanks to iRacing.com, XSplit, Twitch TV, Audio Technica, and AverMedia, the software and hardware that we use to make the broadcast possible. Thanks to the team today, Ayrton, Giancarlo, and Bill. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Thanks goes out to Doug Beard, who creates all the camera sets for the Global Sim Racing Channel, and a special thank you to Eric Ekholm, whose music is not only found here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and even Spotify. If you like our music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Additional thanks to Casey Lalonde, who also provides us with the music for our broadcast. You can find more of his music at caseylalonde.bandcamp.com, and I can tell you he's actually working on a new album. Next race in this series is going to be at Daytona, another Roval. That'll be Sunday, August 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Expect that one to be pretty exciting. Our next broadcast is going to be the ASRS at Bristol, Wednesday, August 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern this week. Then, of course, the iSuperspeedway Series is back at Talladega, Friday, August 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern. And, of course, the Northwest Majors goes to Bristol, Sunday, August 17th at 5:45 p.m. Pacific. And then, of course, the Blondie Series comes back at Circuit of the Americas, Saturday, September 6th at 6 p.m. UTC. And then finally, the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series has their next round at Indianapolis, Saturday, September 6th at 10:30 p.m. UTC. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.